Waymo has expanded to Silicon Valley. Now, this is from the SF Gate, and they reported, quote, the company announced on Tuesday that it's opening up its fared rides in a new 27-mile stretch of the peninsula, including most of Palo Alto, Mountain View, and Los Altos, and a small wedge of Sunnyvale. Waymo's new service map won't yet be connected to its San Fran network, but the expansion brings self-driving cars to the heart of Silicon Valley. I have two thoughts here. Number one, I'm surprised it's not in Silicon Valley already. I assumed that was going to the first spot. And number two, first time I heard of Michigan. So, Steve, I don't know if you knew anything about that.
I know everything about the Waymo
Oh
thing.
yeah,
I've had people from Cruise Autonomous, their engineers on the podcast before. Um, I do know that it's not real. And the first way that everybody can tell that, I mean, we'll get there. I don't know if we'll get there in my lifetime, but even what been told from engineers is all this testing is great and it needs to happen. I think I've even talked to you guys before about, I think it needs to happen in a more controlled environment where all these autonomous companies test together out in the desert where people aren't. But there are some people willing to sell over their cities. That doesn't mean autonomous is real testing, though. It means that they took a check and they're allowing it to be there. But now, yeah, they need to test out cold weather. The LiDARs don't work. The performance is understated. But I've had people say that we're 30, 40, 50 years out from an infrastructure that can support any type of true autonomous. And then the other side of that too is that insurance companies are only literally barely getting involved with this. If you were to think about, I've had insurance people on the podcast who've told me that it's an all or nothing game. It has to be all autonomous or no autonomous.
Brian, I'll toss it to you. I know we discuss this all the time, but
Yeah.
any thoughts on the new expansion to a place that I'm surprised it took this long?
Yeah, no, it seems to be inevitable. They are, marching across the country. They're, as you said, they're now looking at Michigan. It's just a matter of time before they're in every major city. I think that, as Steve said, the local governments are accepting the cash to put them into the cities. There's all sorts of movement from the youth. I've talked to people in LA who prefer to get in the autonomous vehicle as opposed to the one with the driver. So there's pressure on all sides, whether it be from government or whether it's the market to get these cars on the road. I know, just as Steve knows, that the technology is not there, that these are, they have not gone through adequate testing. The technology needs years more to make sure that it's safe. At this point, we're putting the big corporations over the safety of the population, and it's not smart for anybody. I did like Steve's point about the all or nothing proposition that if we're really going to go to autonomous vehicles, which eventually we will, the streets need to be adapted. The streets need to be made for autonomous vehicles. They're not meant to share the road with people driving cars who are acting and however people that drive cars act, for pedestrians that are going to jump out into the middle of the street, for potholes that are going unfixed. There's all sorts of different variations that these vehicles right now are not equipped to deal with, that a human driver has the education and experience to adapt to for instance, a person sees a ball come out in the street, they know that a kid's going to be close behind. Does this autonomous vehicle recognize that ball as a sign of something else to come? So I'm not ready to put my kids' lives on the line to put these cars in my neighborhood, and I would expect that the rest of the country would feel the same way. So we'll see how the politicians feel, because that's ultimately who's going to make the decision.